Welcome to the Fearless Female Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Katarina Kormas. This is a podcast for women who are ready to break free from the 9-to-5 and confidently create a blended life that feels free, fulfilling, and fully aligned. Here, we're all about building a lifestyle that fits you, combining business, career, family, passions, and purpose into one beautifully unboxed life. Through mindset shifts, inspiring stories, and real conversations, you'll learn to live and lead fearlessly. Tune in for solo episodes and interviews with women doing life and business their way, boldly, creatively, and without apology. If you're desiring time freedom, financial freedom, and the freedom to live with purpose, you are in the perfect place. Hello, lovelies. Welcome back to the Fearless Female Entrepreneur podcast. I am feeling so good right now. I need to share. You ever just get to that point where you finally feel like you have your ducks in a row? You've been fighting to have your ducks in a row for so long, and you want to get organized, and you want your house clean, and you just want to feel like you're getting through your to-do list. I feel like right now I am so at peace because I feel caught up in life. And I know that's a blip that'll be fleeting because we're never ever caught up. But I'm sitting here, I have my Christmas tree decorated, I have my house decorated, I just made a yummy stew, I'm about to make some Christmas cookies, my house is clean, my laundry's done, I am almost through my to-do list for the day. And I feel so good right now. I am ready for the Christmas spirit too. I've been watching all of the Christmas movies, all the Hallmark Christmas movies. I'm just getting into the spirit of things. It's actually chilly in Texas for once, so it kind of feels like Christmas. But I wanted to jump in today and let's wrap up this year. And I know, especially for those of us in America, this has been a year. It has been one of the most stressful, volatile, emotional years that we've probably ever felt as adults. And so, yes, let's honor that it has been a rough one. The economy is all wonky. Everything's just kind of on edge, right? It hasn't been the most easeful year in the global external world. But for today, we are only focusing on us because this is our life. This is what we're creating. We deserve to be joyful. We deserve to have achievements. We deserve to have dreams. We deserve to be happy and fulfilled. And I know we're all striving for that every single day. We have a vision of the things that are going to make us happy and feel like we have a purpose, and we feel financially secure, and we have creative freedom, and we're doing just all those things that light us up. I know that's all of our ultimate goals, right? To just find joy every single day and stop feeling frantic and stressful. And, this time of year, we can easily get caught up in, I didn't achieve anything. I'm nowhere where I want to be. I feel like a failure. Look at everybody else hitting these big milestones, and I'm not there yet because life happened this year. We can go through that rabbit hole, and we're going to talk about that today. But this episode is we're going to go through, it's really about you. It's about reflecting on your year, but in a way that is more heartwarming and soul fueling and more motivating than it is defeating and, woe is me. I started outlining this podcast episode while I was sitting in the most amazing inn and spa in Texas. It's called Sage Hill Inn and Spa. My Las Vegas trip was canceled during Thanksgiving, and I was like, oh, I just want to go away. And I found this place. It was only like 55 minutes for me, but it's in the middle of nowhere. Beautiful. Just you enter the driveway, and it's 7 minutes of just wildlife. I mean, just imagine Texas landscape, and you're just driving. I thought, where am I going? I'm in the middle of nowhere. I don't see any buildings. I don't see any inn. What is happening? Where am I being taken to? But they have cottages on the property. They have casitas. They have 2 inn buildings. They have a restaurant, a library. They have these cute little swings hanging all over the property from oak trees. There are hiking trails. It's like 88 acres of just bliss. And when I say it is quiet, I mean the quiet is deafening. It is, you don't even hear crickets. I mean, I heard nothing. You barely run into any people except for breakfast and dinner. It was heaven. I sat on a swing and read books. I just watched butterflies in November. It was amazing. So I started reflecting on this after I had walked around the property. It was just so serene and healing. And I was sitting under this oak tree on a swing, and there was a water fountain in front of me, and these butterflies were just dancing around. Oh, it was beautiful. And they were just landing on like the native Texas wildflowers. And I'm just watching them. And it was just, the energy was just light and uplifting. And I was like in awe because it's the middle of November and it was kind of chilly for Texas and it was a little dreary. But what was amazing is that I had nothing on my mind. For once in my life, nothing. I just sat there just looking at nature. Like my mind was blank. And I think it was such a great healing way to then dive in to reflect on this past year. I wasn't frantic. I wasn't stressed. I was in this place of so connected to my life. I think a lot of our life and our day to day is we're pulled outside of ourselves, right? We're an employee, we're a mom, we're a daughter, we're a friend, we're a wife, we're something else to somebody else, and it feels like we always have to do something outside of ourselves, and we don't normally fuel ourselves and give back to ourselves. So I was in this amazing place there was nothing. There was nothing pulling me. There was nothing. I didn't even want to be on the internet. I didn't want to pick up my phone. It was all about me. And so this entire trip, I spent reflecting on 2025, and I had drafted 20 journal prompts geared towards honoring my journey this past year. And in this podcast episode, I'm going to go through, I consolidated them to 10 journal questions that we're going to go through here, just to help you reflect in such a way that you connect to your journey in a way that is honoring it and not judging it. And I used to be the kind of person who just wanted to jump into the next year. I wanted to just, let's just write off the current year as a loss. Let's just move on. I used to judge myself like, I didn't succeed. I didn't hit my goals. I felt sorry for myself. And I was just thinking, you know what? Next year, we'll just try again next year. Let's just, I don't even want to revisit this year. This was awful. And I've had quite a few of those over the past few years. I hide it well, but they haven't always been the most uplifting years. And I've since realized how much I dishonored all I went through the previous years because, it didn't measure up to some random arbitrary goal that I had written down the year before, because it didn't measure up to the people I was seeing on the internet or my friends and family. And I want you to really think about how living that way leads you to kind of dismissing your life journey. I was just dismissing year after year as if it was nothing. Well, that didn't get me where I was going. That didn't get me where I was going. I didn't get a promotion. I didn't get a new job. I didn't have X amount of clients in my business. I wasn't consistent with my podcast. It's just like, I really wasn't looking at all, like we spend 365 days on this planet living and doing things and working hard and growing and changing. And when we just dismiss it and like, oh, let's just write this off, we'll just go next year, new goals. I just feel like we get this one short life. Let's try and love it instead of writing it off. And we have become such a goal-oriented society that we're missing out on the journey of it all. We spend most of our lives in the journey and not actually in the destination. Because once you've achieved whatever you're going out whatever you're going out after to achieve, you're already on to the next thing. You get the promotion, great. How often do you get that thing and that thing is enough, right? You're already like, oh, great, got the promotion. I'm getting the pay raise. Now I need to work towards now my next goal. But we're most of the time in the journey, in the striving for, in the growth. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to live like that anymore, where I'm dismissing my life. And maybe it's because I turned 46 this year. And, I will say this, I never thought I'd be that kind of person. But as you get older, you really, really think about life. You really think, oh my gosh, I'm almost at the 50% mark, or I'm at the 50% mark, right? Like, I want to soak it up and make the most of it. But I wish I would have lived this way years ago. I want to be in my life. I want to be in my journey. I want to live intentionally. I want to see my life journey through my own eyes. I want to see what I created. I want to compare myself to me, not to Jane Smith, some influencer on Instagram, or some celebrity, or, somebody I work with. And it's actually one of the reasons I'm so grateful for my entrepreneurial journey, because the loud voices out there telling you how to create a business and follow my method, and I made $1 million, look at me building an empire. They're always in this mode of reaching your dreams, aiming higher, your next focus, your next $1 million, your next $10,000 a month, you're striving for working on a beach with your laptop. And why would you bring a laptop to the beach? I have no idea, because you get sand in your laptop and then you don't have a laptop anymore. But anyway, I digress. I got so burnt out from that loudness out there of always feeling like, why I haven't even reached $10,000 months, but I should be striving for $1 million years, right? Like, so burnt out by that. One day I just looked up and realized I'm not living my life if I'm always striving for something more and never actually honoring, acknowledging, and celebrating the journey that it is taking to create what I want. If I'm always thinking this isn't enough and I need to go after something else, one, I can never really appreciate the something else because everything's not enough. So I started to teach myself how to be aware of my journey, to not judge it, to use it to acknowledge how I am growing and changing, even if my external world isn't changing much at all. And I will say this, I didn't realize this is how I was changing my perspective. I mean, I knew, especially after Chocolate passed away, I had so much regret of being online all the time and spending so much time on Instagram and creating content that I wasn't looking up. I mean, I spent a lot of time with him, but I missed out on really living life with him because I was in a screen all the time. And I don't want that to be my life anymore. And I didn't realize I was doing it, but I was actively, through my journaling process and my self-awareness, and trying to shift my mindset and the way, the stories I tell myself and the way I narrate my life, I didn't realize that I was going from I need more, 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 more to, wow, look at how much my life is changing. Because let's be honest, our external world doesn't change much or quickly, and that can be really discouraging. But when you're so aware and you reflect on your journey and who you are and how you're changing and how you're shifting the way you approach life and respond to the world, you can't see that necessarily right away in what you're experiencing in your life, right? Things might not change much in your external world, but You are growing so much as a person. You are becoming more confident. You are learning from every experience you have, whether it's an experience you want or not. When I went through the 20 journal questions that I mapped out to reflect on the past year, most of my achievements, most of the things that I wrote down were about my growth. Most of, but it was these these moments of growth and the achievements and the lessons and the shifts are mostly things that have changed in me. My life as a whole hasn't changed in a year. I'm still working at the luxury spa as lead massage therapist. I'm still working on my business and taking on coaching clients. I'm still living in the same apartment. But my priorities, how I respond to the world, my new focuses, my values, the boundaries I set, they've all changed so dramatically that it's like I'm living a whole different journey. I have changed so much. My fears have changed. My confidence has changed. The things I want in my life have changed, and I will share that in upcoming episodes. I didn't achieve any goals that I set out for myself this year. I still have my vision board on the digital vision board on my wallpaper on my computer. And I did. I mean, I did sell my home. So that was, and I moved into an apartment. So that was a goal I achieved. But how I'm experiencing my life has drastically changed. The decisions I make, the things that are my priorities, I can see how I'm becoming the person that will allow those new magical goals into my life, even if I'm not ready yet. And that's a huge difference because I'm aware of how I'm changing, how I'm evolving, how I'm becoming ready for what I want. And because I can see those pieces, I'm no longer the person that judges herself for not being there yet to that, ultimate vision, that ultimate goal. I am more focused on becoming her because if I don't have it yet, that means I'm not her yet, which means I just have to pour more into myself. I pour more into being ready for what I want, being more open to it when it arrives. It just means I need to put more of my heart and soul into being the person that's ready for that next thing. I would love to be in a relationship and get married, right? That I need to be ready for that. And I work on that every day. I need to make sure that I'm not judging myself and comparing my now to where I want to be. I'm comparing myself to my growth. Who I was yesterday, 6 months ago, a year from now. I'm not comparing myself or judging myself for who I haven't become yet. And now I just have this filter on how I can see, how I'm closer to where I want to be. It used to be, look how far I am from what I want, which is such a defeating and energy sucking mindset. Oh my God, look how far I still have to go. No, turn around and look at how much closer I am, how far I've come. And this is like the first time in a long time that I am ending this year not feeling defeated or frustrated or like I'm a failure. I actually feel like I'm arriving somewhere. It's not visible yet, like in my outside world changing, but I can feel how much closer I am. I can feel how calmer I am, how less frantic I am. It has changed my entire energy. And that's what I want you to take away from today as I go through some of these really powerful journal prompts as we wrap up this year. These journal prompts, I want you to ask yourself and really, really, really encourage you to take the time. And you don't have to do it all in one day. I didn't. I did a little each day while I was on vacation. And then I did a few today, actually, the wrap up of it. I still have one more to go that I'm hesitating on doing. It's the last prompt that I'll share with you. And I know why I'm hesitating, right? This is a mindset thing. I think it's going to be emotional. But I want you to embrace reflecting on your journey as a powerful tool to feel more confident with yourself, to keep you motivated, to keep you accountable, and to feel less defeated and in a rush to get where you desire to be. So before we jump in, I did create something special for you. It's totally free. It's a workbook that you can download and print out to guide you through these journal prompts. So you can click the link in the podcast description for the download, or you can go to katarinakormas.com and go to the free resources page to download. It's called the Past Year Reflections Workbook. And that way, you have it there. You can print it out. You can do it on your own time. But I would say definitely listen to this whole podcast, because I'm going to go through how each of these journal prompts are going to shift you internally, your mindset, the rewiring of your internal system. So if you're ready, let's jump in. Let's start with the first journal prompt that, I'm going to be honest, you may not want to answer. You may have resistance to it. You may want to just say, let's not think about it and let's just move on. But we have to start somewhere, right? I want you to ask yourself how you feel as you wrap up this year. Now, I'm recording this as 2025, and most of us think this year, as I mentioned, was a dumpster fire, globally, economically, politically. But let's stick to focusing on you and your journey, regardless of what's happening in the world. If the world's having a temper tantrum and an identity crisis, let's put that aside. There's no right or wrong answer to this question of how you feel about this year. You feel the way you feel. That's it. You get to have your feelings about it. It could have been your favorite year of your whole life, or it could have been the year that almost broke you. It could be one you want to make 100 scrapbooks about so you can remember every single moment, or it could be one that you never want to think about again. For me, I was honest with myself, and for a moment, when I reflected on this question, I put aside the fact that I didn't hit any of my goals and just focus on what I thought this year was for. So for me, it was healing. It's been 2 years since Chocolate passed away. I moved out of the house. Last year it was all about the house sale last year and grieving Chocolate. And this year, it was a real uphill battle to find my footing. It was my exploration year. I call it a pre-chapter to the next one I'm walking into. And my free writing of my answer revealed how I realized I wasn't being honest with myself for years on what I wanted. And not achieving those goals right now was actually a blessing in disguise. I was not ready for them, and some of them needed a lot of tweaking. One of them I'll reveal now is my podcast. First of all, I apologize. I've re-listened to some of my most recent podcasts. I suck at editing my podcast. So side note, I will be editing them a lot better. I'm a one-woman show over here. But I love my podcast, but how much resistance I had around it and how much I diluted my whole life around it so I didn't have time for it. I realized I really wanted to do more with it. So I decided to make this the biggest part of my business. I'll still coach, but it was a blessing in disguise to have that realization that I was putting so much effort into other areas of my business, but my heart was here. And yes, I didn't hit my podcast downloads. I didn't hit the number of clients I wanted to work with. I didn't hit any of my goals, but it was a blessing in disguise because I realized so much about myself and what I was hiding from myself. And that's why I love journaling so much. You start writing and new reflections and ideas and aha moments just start flowing out of you. And you're like, oh my God, because we can easily in our mind ask ourselves a question and brush it off. Like, oh, I gotta go, your mind just switches. Like, this is uncomfortable. Let me just go blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm gonna go clean the toilets. But when you're writing and you allow yourself to free write and you allow it to flow, honesty comes. You're giving yourself the mental space to pause because it takes a long time to write, right? So you can't always hide from those thoughts when you're journaling. So start writing and just let what comes to mind flow through you. You may have an aha moment or two that you didn't realize that will be invaluable for you for next year. So the next reflection, so take time to, pause this, reflect on that, come back to it later, print out the workbook. But I want to, keep flowing through. So the second reflection was one we need to learn to reflect on more often, I believe, not just once a year, not just at the end of the year. And that's like, it's what were your greatest achievements this year? And I would say either do this monthly, quarterly, do this more often. We do not honor our achievements, big or small, enough. We're so trained and conditioned to celebrate the big milestones, the big anniversaries, the big birthdays, the big promotions, the big whatever, the having a baby, the whatever, getting married, graduating. But we achieved so much throughout the year, such little things that may have been hard at one point that we did, and it might be something maybe silly, like you learned how to, I don't even say silly, because it's hard to learn how to build a website or to post your first Instagram live, whatever it is, right? Those are achievements we should celebrate. So do that. List them out, not just the tangible things that you've achieved, but things about yourself, things that came up for me, included being honest with myself, being true to me, feeling confident in my values, and no longer being afraid to speak about my beliefs to others. I did that at not Thanksgiving, my parents' 50th anniversary. I have very different political beliefs than my aunt and uncle, and I found myself not being shy anymore, not holding my tongue. These are my beliefs, and I'm going to stand up for them. I also included more tangible items, like, restarting the podcast, recommitting to my health and weight loss goals, becoming financially free. But that free write also brought up what I had to change inside of me, what those achievements were in order for me to have those. In order for me to recommit to my health, something inside of me had to change. In order for me to restart this podcast, something in me had to change. So I wrote out all those things I was achieving on how I changed. Let the pen flow. And don't be shy. Boast about yourself. You're boasting to yourself about yourself. Achieve it. Every little achievement. Write it out. The third reflection question is about the lessons. And this one is so powerful. It is so easy to write off what happened. Grieve mistakes or, the things that didn't pan out, right? Just, didn't pan out, whatever. I'm just going to move on. But everything we go through is a growth opportunity. Our whole life, we are growing and changing. This life challenges us to our core, and that was what life is about. So we get to choose how we define what happens to us. We give it the story, and we give it the meaning. And we can give it whatever meaning we want. We're the narrator of our story. So this is where you get to choose the narrative. So by defining something as a lesson, it becomes part of your future story. It's giving rather than taking away. It's fueling you. It's giving you something. You don't want to keep thinking, oh, that happened to me. This is so horrible. That's a takeaway. That's taking away from your energy. That's taking away from your story. You want to look at the lesson. So take time to reflect about the lessons you learned this year. It could be something you learned about yourself or, what you want, what you don't want. It could be a lesson about how you react to things or about your own personality. It could be a lesson about who you are as a person, and there is no judgment. Allow the lesson to be the lesson, and that's it. And this is where you get to acknowledge it. One of the hardest things I had to reflect on after Chocolate passed away, and for those of you that are listening for the first time, Chocolate was my dog of 9 years, and he was my world. I don't have kids. He was my baby. I have severe anxiety, and he just taught me so much about life and anxiety. He had anxiety too, but he taught me so much about it. And one of the hardest things I had to reflect on when he passed away in 2023 was the lessons I took away. There were lessons in his death that I took away. I had to reflect on, life's a journey. And obviously when you have a pup, they don't last our lifetimes like they should. And that is Mother Nature's mistake. But there were things I learned about his death, during his death and the grief. I learned a lot about myself. And that was really hard to change that narrative because I didn't want to take away from the grief of it. But I also learned a lot. His life gave me a lot. The final moments of his life taught me a lot. And my grief taught me a lot. And that's why my life has changed completely, because of him, of how short that life was and how much I lost by focusing on things that weren't really important to me. So let the lessons be the lessons, and let there be lessons this year. And sometimes it's really hard to pull away from things that happened, whether you've had a loss, you're going through a divorce or a breakup, you lost a job. Sometimes it's really hard to see the positive, but there always is a silver lining. But equally, it can be horrible and you can cry about it, and it could be one of the lowest and hardest moments of your life, but it'll always give you something. And that's a really hard thing when really tough things happen, for you to be like, I don't want there to be good in this tough thing. Like, no, it doesn't take away from any bad things happening. It doesn't. The bad thing is a bad thing. It is a tough moment. The grief is the grief. The loss of a job, not getting a promotion, all of that, I'm not taking away from that. That it's heart-wrenching and it's hard. But there can be two things can be true at once. There can be a good that comes out of a bad. So reflect on the lessons. The fourth powerful question to ask yourself is, what were my goals at the beginning of the year, and how have they shifted and changed? How have your priorities changed? A lot of times we look at our goals from the beginning of the year, we judge ourselves for not hitting them. And we forget that we grow and we shift and we change as the year goes on. And as life happens, life's all the time, right? Plot twists happen all the time. And that means what once was important, or what our goals were months ago or a year ago, they may have shifted as well as you grow and change. And that for many different reasons. It could be that you realized you wanted something for the wrong reasons. Or maybe you were going out after a goal and realized it wasn't for you after all. Or maybe you realized that now was not the time for the things you thought you wanted and you're just not ready yet. And it's okay that they change. But I think we get caught up in the comparison of, this is what I wanted and I didn't get it, and not allowing it to be like, well, our lives aren't stagnant, and neither should our goals and our dreams. They're allowed to change too. And it just might mean that you still want them, but you want them differently. Or other things in your life changed and look different, and that means what you originally wanted has to look different too. So reflect on how your goals and priorities have changed. It's okay if they've changed. It's okay if you change your mind. It's okay to be in a totally different place in your life now. Don't judge it. Just allow shifts to emerge as you write. As you're writing, you might realize a lot about why you want other things. This question usually starts to open your eyes to how much you've grown. And sometimes, as I said, it doesn't seem that big changes have happened, but that's because we've been so focused on our tangible external world instead of the bigger picture in our internal picture. So be honest with yourself. How have they changed? How have they shifted? How have your priorities changed? The fifth reflection is powerful and very intimate. This is between you and you. And this is a reflection on, this is not a question we ask ourselves often, once again, but one that is deeply connected to our life on earth, our journey. So I want you to ask yourself, how have I changed this year? Who have I become, and how has my identity changed? And what I mean by identity changed is how you are the one that creates your identity, who you are. You define that. How has your definition of yourself changed? And whether you believe it or not, you have changed for the better. You've become more knowledgeable, more aware, more of something, because growth was inevitable. So don't gloss over this one. I would really take your time to look at how you've changed. Who were you January 1st, 2025, or whatever you're listening to this a year ago? And who you are today? How have you changed? I mean, I have changed drastically. I was afraid of getting out and socializing last year. I felt so defeated by having to sell my house and wanting to sell my house, but moving into an apartment, I was like shell shocked, like, woo, who am I now? I went from a homeowner for 10 years to living in an apartment. My identity changed so much. My confidence changed. What I thought was possible has changed. And there's a lot of that in you as well. The sixth question is, what are you grateful for this year and in your life right now? And how do you feel abundant in your life right now? Even if this was the toughest year of your life, even if this felt like the most stagnant year of your life, I want you to look for what you're grateful for. And this goes back to the lessons you reflected on earlier. There was growth. There were good things that happened that are setting you up for the next chapter of your life. So try to find them. Give yourself a goal to at least write down 10 things. I just did a podcast episode about the power of gratitude, so make sure you listen to that episode as well. It'll set you up for a very fulfilling new year. And when you do this, when you're asking yourself this question every single day, what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for? What am I grateful for? You're so deeply rooted into your journey. It's not even just about the energy shift it gives you and the perspective shift it gives you for every single day. It shows you all the good things you have. So you're so deeply rooted in your journey because you're reflecting on it every single day. It is life-giving to start a gratitude practice. And being able to answer this question will shift the way you see this year. Even if it was tough, I'm telling you, the year chocolate passed away, it is so hard to find gratitude when the thing you love the most is gone. But there were such things to be grateful for. Like, I was grateful for the 9 months I had with him since his cancer diagnosis, the times we traveled 40 minutes to go to acupuncture, the 1 week where we thought, oh my gosh, he's beating this cancer. Look at his energy. It's insane. And he's back to being a puppy again. That week that was short-lived was a blessing, right? There were always things I was grateful for, even though it was the toughest year in my life. The seventh question is a bit of a mood boost. You've done hard things this year. You've gotten outside of your comfort zone. You've learned things about what you're capable of. I want you to reflect on what fears and limiting beliefs you overcame and shifted this year, because you have. It is inevitable that you have done hard things and you have, learned things about yourself. What are you no longer afraid of? What stories about your limitations did you rewrite? What did you originally think was going to be hard, but then you realize it was more worry in your head than reality? I love that quote by Nelson Mandela that, it's not the exact same, but it always seems impossible until it's done, right? How many times you've been like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so hard. And you're like, oh, that was nothing. We have all overcome something. And if you get stuck on this question, think of the things that you did that were new. Then think about the things that were originally holding you back from doing that new thing. For instance, I was afraid of hanging out in downtown Austin. I love downtown Austin. I want to live in downtown Austin, but I just was so overwhelmed of the thought of finding parking in downtown Austin and walking around and not knowing anything about the city, and just being seen in the city scared me, just because I was getting over my social anxiety. And now I spend time each month downtown. I know where to park. I have my favorite restaurants and my coffee shops, and I got over the fear of going somewhere new. I found ways to make parking easy. I found my safe places in the city to hang out, but then I always get outside of my comfort zone and try one new place. There were things that you did that were scary at first. but then you did them. And that is growth. That is you rewriting your stories and opening the doors to more things that you can do in the future. So I really want you to think about the fears that you overcame, the limiting beliefs you overcame. You know, were there things that you just felt like you were an imposter, like, who am I to do this? And then you did it. And you're like, oh my gosh, I could do this. Who am I to go to a 9,000 person conference I know nobody at? I did it. There were things you did. So celebrate the fears and the doubts and the limiting beliefs that you've overcame. Reflection number 8 rather, has 3 parts. So how are you judging yourself for where you are now and what you have or have not achieved? So think about how you're judging yourself at this point in the year for what didn't happen this year. How are you comparing yourself to others and what they've achieved at this point in their lives versus where you are right now? And what do you wish you felt about where you are now in your life and towards your dreams and who you've become? For me, like, I judge myself all the time. I'm not married. I don't want kids, and so that's okay. But I look at all these people around me that I went to high school with or college with, and they're married and they have kids and whatever. And I think, oh my gosh, am I far behind? I look at other entrepreneurs that are doing things that I hope to do in my business at some point. I'm not there yet. But, and I do. I wish I felt more fulfilled at this point in my life. I wish I felt ready for some things that I want in my life. It's okay to not feel like you're where you desire to be. It can feel frustrating to see others do those big things, hit big milestones, and feel like, you're just trudging along over here, trying not to, trying, but you're not seeing results. It can also feel frustrating when you're comparing yourself to yourself, where you thought you'd be. Sometimes you have to mourn the dreams that you had because they didn't happen yet. Right? I remember telling myself the story, I'd be married with kids by 27. And then I was like, well, that didn't happen. And I was like 32, 33. And I'm like, well, it'll happen anytime now. Just never was ready. I wasn't ready. I didn't want it up until now. And so even though I didn't want it up until now, I still mourned not having it when I thought I'd have it. And you had intentions this past year. You had a vision, and maybe only some of the things were achieved, or maybe nothing you expected happened. What I do want to make sure of is that you don't continue to repeat these stories about the past year, that it doesn't become the energy you lead with moving forward, right? That feeling of what was me, I didn't get there. We put meaning on what has or hasn't happened to us. That's our story that we're telling ourselves. That's the narration we're moving forward with. And that's the way you wind up narrating not just your past, but your future. And if we feed those thoughts, then it's this filter we just walk through life with every single day, and that doesn't serve us. That's holding us back. It robs us of our energy and our possibilities for our future. It discredits all that we did go through, all that we did achieve, just because it doesn't look a certain way, just because we didn't hit some arbitrary goals. That doesn't mean that we didn't have a year that has given us so much, because it has. So for now, reflect on what story you're telling yourself about where you are right now. Where are you comparing yourself? What do you wish you believed about this past year and how your life and business unfolded? What's that narration? How are you telling that story? Reflection number 9, we're going to look forward. How do you hope you grow in 2026? Or if you're listening to this later on, how do you hope you grow in the next year? What fears and limiting beliefs do you hope you overcome? What new things do you want to do and new ventures you want to embark on? You've done some great reflecting on this year and who you've become, whether or not you've hit your goals or not, and the vision you had for your life this year. Now it's time to see all the shifts and changes that are possible for you and step into that vision. Who do you hope you become? What fears are you committing to overcome so that you can have more growth in 2026? And decide how you want to grow, how you want to grow. Again, we're going to get into in the next podcast episode about dreaming about the future. But for now, this is the internal. How do you want to grow as a person? Who do you want to become more of? Really reflect on that. The final reflection for the day is a fun exercise. This is the one, I'm going to be honest, I know it's fun, but it's also kind of hard for me. And it could be hard for you too. So I don't want to discredit that. That's possible. I want you to write a letter to the version of you from 365 days ago. I want you to share all that's happened this year, all that you've achieved. Let her know about things that maybe didn't pan out, but the lessons you learned instead, because you have all that written out in your little reflection journal right now. Talk about the aha moments you had, what you learned about yourself, what you're looking forward to. Really nurture her, right? Because if she looked at you now, she would be impressed. So let her be that impressed version of yourself. Assure her that things that did happen were beneficial and necessary. It hits differently when you're talking to your past self, when you're writing intentionally to reassure someone that everything's okay. The story that you're narrating takes on this more hopeful energy and this hopeful tone. And you may find that it opens your eyes to even more about the expansiveness of this past year. Talk to your past self. I'm going to do this exercise tonight. I don't know why I'm hesitating to do it. I think because this past year was the new chapter after I closed the chocolate chapter. It was the moving on. Officially, the house was sold that I shared with chocolate since the day it was built. And I think it's hard for me to talk to the broken Katerina, the one that in January 2025 was really struggling with moving on. And I think that's why I am hesitating to write it, but I am going to write it because I am challenging you to write your letter to your past self. And I know I have to do it. I know it'll be healing and it might be emotional, but let's do it together. Okay. So there are, I think, a few more questions in the past year reflections workbook. I didn't combine them like I did in the podcast, so they're broken out separately. But definitely make sure you download the workbook, sit down with your favorite warm beverage, your favorite pen, because the pen makes all the difference. I don't know about you, but I have a favorite type of pen that I like to write with, and that's it. Give me another pen and they're crap and I don't want to write with them, and I write horribly with them, and my handwriting sucks with them, and I'm not motivated to write with them. I don't know if that's just my pet peeve and my quirk. But anyway, grab your favorite pen and start reflecting. This is for you. This is a gift for your inner soul. This is your time. And this practice will set you up for success when it comes to your intentions for the next year, I promise. So anyway, thank you for joining me. I would love to hear how the aha moments you had in this reflection. Pop me an email at hello@katerinakormas.com, or pop it to Instagram and DM me. Leave a review if you're willing to leave a review. I'd love for you to let me know what you think of the podcast, what you think of this episode specifically. And yeah, happy reflecting, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Hello, lovely. I have something super special for you today, the Becoming Quarterly Planner and Journal. This isn't just any planner. This is a mindset-first approach to creating the future life you're dreaming about right now. This planner helps you create your quarterly strategy from a place of who you want to become, and it combines the habits, actions, thoughts, and beliefs that you need to embrace right now in order to lead yourself each and every day. Not only does it include planning pages, it also includes a dream journal, plus monthly, weekly, and daily journal prompts to help you step into the beautiful future version of you that you desire to become. You can download the Becoming Planner and Journal at katerinakormas.com and click on the free resources page. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do.